guys, thanks for joining me for the vlog today. I hope that these vlogs have just added value to your life. Our desire is just to encourage you and to build you up and just share with you some of the things that God's working in our lives. As you know, we're still in the Joy Revolution. We've been looking the last couple of times at Psalm 13, and this is what we've learned. We've learned first that rejoicing is a powerful thing, that when we choose to joy again and rejoice, that rejoicing is the mechanism that empowers our life to have a turnaround, that rejoicing literally is the revolution that we need when we find ourselves in difficult times. In our last blog, we learned about the power of the but, and we learned that everything was stacked against David. His adversity had all the momentum. But in verse 5, when he said, "But my heart will trust in God's mercy and my heart will rejoice," that word "but," it began to erase the defeatist mentality that he was operating from and to begin to replace it with joy. So we saw David really just change from living in a place of defeat to living in a place of joy. And it was really that the power of rejoicing that got him out of his funk. And it's amazing because at the beginning of Psalm 13, he's asking questions like, "God, how long are you going to forget me? How long are you going to ignore me? How long is my enemy going to kick my tail and have all the momentum? How much longer is my heart going to be broken?" But when he started to rejoice, it's like it changed all the questions. Instead of having all these questions that focused on defeat, it's like he started asking himself a whole different set of questions. Like, what's coming out of my mouth? What do I hear myself saying? And questions like, where are the opportunities that God has for me? And questions like, what do I know? Because when we get to verse 6, this is what he says: "I will sing to the Lord because he's dealt bountifully with me." And so what do we see? We see David saying, "I want to change my sound. Everything that's been coming out of me is defeat, is doom, it's gloom. But you know what? I have so much to sing about. I have so much to be grateful for." A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the fact that your voice is the most powerful voice in your life because you hear your voice more than anybody else's voice. And that was true for David too. So what did he do? He began to change the sound of his life, and rejoicing empowered him to change the sound that was coming out of him that will then redirect his thoughts and redirect his heart. The second thing was this, is that he had to ask himself, what has God done for me? He had to remind himself of the good things that God had done. And so many times we remember the bad way more than we remember the good. Sometimes our memories are way too short. But David said, "You know what? He has been bountiful. Man, God has been good to me." And then that brought him to the next question of, you know what? Where are the opportunities? Because God's always come through, so he's going to come through again. And guys, I just believe that when you and I begin to rejoice, that we can experience that same dynamic, that we will be empowered, that rejoicing will pull us out of the funk we're in, pull us out of the defeatist mentality and thinking and living like a victim, and bring us to a place where we begin living life from a whole different set of questions. Instead of saying, "Why is life unfair?" Or "Why did this happen?" Or "Why did that happen?" And "Why is everybody against me?" We'll start asking ourselves questions like, you know what? What sound is coming out of my life, and how can I change my sound to where I'm declaring something good instead of what's bad? And then we can ask ourselves questions like, you know what do I know to be true? Well, I know that God's always been good to me. Then we'll begin to ask ourselves like, where's the opportunity in all of this? And I just believe that when we rejoice, we get out the ditch and life begins to move forward. My prayer for you this week is this, is that as you rejoice, as you choose to joy again, that the questions you're asking yourself will change, and that will empower you to change your sound. It will empower you to remember God's goodness, and it will empower you to look for the opportunities that God's bringing into your life. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.